Hello, my name is Carly Wine, and today we will discuss diversity and family factors that may arise in the school or clinical setting. The objectives we are going to address is what is autism spectrum disorder, how does autism affect families, divorce statistics, how divorce impacts the child, family and interventions, a couple of factors that lead parents to divorce, cultural competency, and how to approach situations that may arise with the child and which parent to contact. So today we will be addressing family factors that relate to children with autism spectrum disorder. So to begin, we need to know what is autism. The Autism Speaks website lays out the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5 twice revised as a person with persistent deficits in social communication and social interactions across multiple contexts with restricted and/or repetitive behaviors and cause clinically significant impairments in social, occupational, or important aspects of functioning. To further this, the National Autism Association has found that 1 in 36 children are affected and diagnosed with ASD. Males are 4 times more prevalent in having the disorder in comparison to females, and approximately 40% of individuals diagnosed are nonverbal. This includes 25 to 30% of those who lose verbal communication as they get older. According to Estes, Swain, and McDuffie, in 2019, autism impacts family dynamics in numerous ways. These include, but are not limited to, parenting-related stress such as increased resources needed, developmental concerns, diagnosis and initiating services, early interventions, and child health and safety factors. Estes, Swain, and McDuffie also discuss family personal growth factors and psychological factors on parents, such as negative feelings and emotions that are attributed to when their child is diagnosed. They found that 1/3 of mothers reported, and let's emphasize the reported aspect, 1/3 reported depression. Now this number could potentially be higher than that, but of the reports, 33% is already a high number of parents with mental health concerns. Another study by Inchesi et al. In 2023 found that dynamics associated to potential divorce is due to dysfunctional coping skills within the parents, family cohesiveness, and high emotional and financial investment. Every parent wants a happy, healthy child, so when a family finds out that their child has autism, they're scared. Half to, if not most families, don't know what to expect, and when finding out that the potential resources required for their child to excel, such as speech-language therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral therapy, and more, it becomes easy to understand why these factors may lead parents to divorce. Inchesi et al. Stated dysfunctional coping skills as one of their main impacting factors for divorce. So what does dysfunctional coping skill mean? Ultimately, it means that family members, primarily parents, don't know how to cope. So in many instances, parents begin to argue more, engage in defensive tactics, engage in coping mechanisms that may not be healthy, either working more, less conversations with their partners, alcohol or drug abuse. A number of different tactics could occur that would fall under this dysfunctional coping skill factor. Hartley et al. In 2010 did a study with adolescents and adults with autism in Wisconsin and Massachusetts. Now, to be clear, this study had 7 researchers on the study from various states, including Wisconsin, Massachusetts, and Georgia. They did not just jump from state to state with the same study. Anyways, they did this study where the characteristics of the family dynamic was examined. The study examined divorce, maternal age at childbirth, race and ethnicity, parental educational levels, and the family size. Was there just a single child, multiple children, were grandparents involved, or even primary guardians? What this study found was that parents of children with autism had a higher rate of divorce than of the comparison group, which is the families with no children of autism. So parents of children with autism had a higher rate of divorce at 23.5% in comparison to 13.8%. Parents were found to be more likely to divorce with a child with autism than without a child with autism. So if we fast forward, we now know that there is a higher rate of divorce in families with a child with ASD. So how does divorce affect or impact the child with autism? Well, like many children, even typical children, the child is found to be more emotionally insecure, meaning they're blaming themselves, wondering what they did so bad to cause their parents to say, "No more, we're not staying together." This also plays mood changes in which a child is more sad, which ultimately leads us to lowered school performances. Now, we know these all fit the reactions of almost any child, typical or atypical. The ultimate difference is that many children with autism do not have the capacity to understand why one day we are living with both mom and dad, to now mom's moving out or dad's moving out, and now to see just one parent, they'll have to go to a different house. That is a hard concept for this demographic of children. As stated in the previous slide, Inchesi et al. In 2023 found that students engage in lower school performances when parents decide to divorce. We all know this is typical for all students, not just those with autism. So how does this affect the interventions? Clinics and schools will become the child's stability. The child is going through a lot of change, and as we know, many of our students with ASD have a difficult time with change. So what we need to do is to be the child's stability. They know what to expect at school or in the clinical setting. This is the only part of their lives that are not changing as long as they're not moving out of the district. So we need to maintain the expectations. The expectations, however, can be altered in saying, instead of working 20 minutes for reinforcement, breaking that down to 10 or 15 minutes. Or if the child is on a token economy, maintain the amount of tokens needed, just lessen what is expected. We want the child to succeed, so we want to encourage the child as much as possible, provide breaks as needed, and allow for the child to adjust. In the upcoming slides, we are going to look at two factors that are the primary cause for divorce in families with a child with ASD. The first factor is a financial strain, and the second factor is stress. The first factor we are going to address is the increased supports required. Bowery, Sterrett, and Lord in 2023 tells us that the substantial amount of supports are required as a child gets older, including continued caregiver demands. Saunier, Clayman, and McQueen in 2022 had further discussed how children with autism have adaptive and executive functioning deficiencies that merit the need for assistance in both school and home settings. Helpguide.org also lays out therapies that a child with autism may require, included, but not limited to, behavior treatments, speech-language therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and nutritional therapy. The second factor we'll look at today is stress. So we had two different peer articles that reviewed how stress impacts families and may ultimately lead to parental divorces. According to Inchesi et al. In 2023, emotional reactions and worries play a huge role. The characteristics of the child include cognitive impairment, the functioning level of the child, the motor functioning of the child, how much support does the child need, the medical needs, and the psychopathological deficits, or in layman's terms, the mental health aspects of what the child may be deficient in. Inchesi et al. Also found differences of stress within the parent figures. Mothers or maternal figures were more highly stressed due to infant regulation difficulties. What this means is the stress from the child's inability to regulate their emotions. As on the other hand, fathers or paternal figures stated that their stress was highly associated due to the behavioral aspects of the child. There was no discrepancies with families with multiple children, although it was looked at as still a stress. With divorced families, we may often find ourselves unsure of who to reach out to what parent is responsible if issues arise, if there is an argument, are both parents allowed to be contacted, is one preferred over the other. So the big question is, who do we approach and contact if anything arises with a child, and how do we approach sensitive topics with parents that may not be authorized to be spoken to? For this question, who is a child's primary resident? Who are they legally living with? That parent will most likely be the number one person to reach out to for any reason. If there's a parental agreement in place, the school or clinic should have a copy of that agreement. If there is shared custodial rights, whoever the child is with on the given day within the agreement is the parent to be contacted. So thus far, we have heard how a child diagnosed with ASD may affect the dynamic structure of a family. And I don't want it to be a thought that autism leads family to divorce. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how parents' divorce may be prevalent in some of our clients or student cases. This leads us to the cultural competency slide. Cultural competency, according to ASHA, is a dynamic and complex process requiring ongoing self-assessment, continuous cultural education, openness to others' values and beliefs, and willingness to share one's own values and beliefs. What this means is you as a professional and the client and the family are all key components in the client's success. Your belief system plays a role in how you interact with our clients and our families. Your biases, whether known or unknown, determine how you may treat a client, their family, and their family dynamic. Whether it comes to differences within cultural practices, religious affiliations, or morals. So how can you become culturally competent? It's not about treating every single client the same way. It's about meeting the specific needs of each child and the family you interact with. As you can see at the bottom of this slide, I have attached an overview and assessment from the Georgetown University for Child and Human Development that gives more insight on how to determine cultural competence, and even an assessment that can be taken to see where there may be biases within yourself. So in conclusion, we as professionals need to ensure we are practicing understanding and compassion with all our clients. There are instances in which we may find a family doesn't disclose important information that may affect how our client interacts, engages, and behaves. Treat every client as you would want your child to be treated, regardless of the information that is disclosed to you. Thank you, and have a great day.